Hello everyone, my name is Heather and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. There's 21 books as well as 2 DNFs, so this is a pretty long wrap-up, but luckily I've already talked about some of these books in other videos, so you can check them out if you want to know more thoughts, and I'm just basically going to be getting to the ones I haven't talked about or I'm not reserving for a upcoming video surprise. So I do have a series I'm working through that's like 20 books long, so it's gonna have its own video. But I will kind of give you the summary. I do have my little scale over here, but I also tracked the books and the star ratings here, so I think I might just use this for now. But anyway, so the first book I read in the month, I'm just going in order of when I read them. So the first book of the month and the first book of the year that I read and finished was The Missing Crown by Cait Marie. Now, if y'all have been on this channel, you know I mention this author all the time. Because I've literally read all of her books, and they're amazing. And this was the latest release. However, there's another one later down on this list that just came out on February the 14th. So I'll be talking about that one too. But this is the 4th book in a fantasy series called The Nearest. This whole series is pretty much a Robin Hood and Tangled sort of thing going on. Like, you see the different lines of it with all of the stories. It definitely has the fairy tale element, but it also has pirates. So I love pirates and princesses, and this book has that. And really, really just like cute couples and everything. So I really enjoyed this book. Of course, I gave it 5 stars. Cait's books are always like 5 stars. She just gets at the emotions. I will say the funniest thing about this book was that, and I told her this myself, I was like, I know I was supposed to get stomach flips from like the 2 pairs, but those were not the ones who were giving me all the stomach flips. It was 2 side characters that barely had any page time. I didn't care. I wanted it. And now she's adding additional chapters into the 5th book in the series, because everyone that's read the book has been like, we want more of these characters. So I'm so excited about it. But anyway, this one is about there's lots of characters in this one. So I'll just kind of start you off with how the book starts. There's a princess. She's going to be meeting a suitor, which is like a potential match for her to marry and have an alliance. But she doesn't want to meet this person. So she's like, forget this. So she's having a lot of anxiety. So she like runs out of the castle grounds and she winds up taking refuge in this little building or whatever that happens to be where a witch does tarot readings. Well, then you're getting flashbacks throughout the book where you're like, oh my gosh, this princess got kidnapped by this witch and she's like doing stuff with her, and you're like, what is going on? I don't want to get into too much detail. But then you also get Cal, which is Aline, which is the girl I've been talking about. It's Aline's cousin. And so he's a prince of another kingdom. And so Cal is like, we've got to go after her. We've got to find her, but they don't really have any leads. So he doesn't ask permission to do this. He goes into like the rebel camp, which you know about if you've read the previous books in the series. But you can technically start the series with this one, but you'll know how all the couples go for the first series. And I feel like it makes more sense to start with book 1. But if you did want to read this one, you can. Because it's a new arc. This is the children of the main characters in the first part of the series. They're the ones who are taking over the second part of the series. And I'm just like, ugh! And you do get cameos. So there's some fan service scenes in there that I really, really enjoyed. But anyway, so Cal is joining up with some rebels on a ship. And like his sister like sneaks aboard because she's like, I'm coming too. And so they're trying to find their cousin. Meanwhile, you have another girl who's being raised by her grandmother in this town where the people just really hate her and the grandmother because they think that the grandmother's like kind of woo-woo. She helps people with like to become pregnant and like gives them potions and stuff like that. And so she's just struggling with being ostracized and also not having a lot of memories. And then you have this other guy who starts showing up in her life, and he's the only one that treats her well. So when the granny, this is still like the beginning portion of the book. So when the granny decides that she's going to go away because she needs to get some more herbs that were destroyed, she's supposed to stay in the town, but instead she decides that she wants Logan to take her to the Festival of Lights in a neighboring kingdom. So that's where the whole Tangled thing comes in, the Festival of Lights and the missing girl element. And there's so much. It's so good. So yeah, I cannot rant enough about Cait's books. We probably will do some sort of read along at some point on this channel. And I've already been talking to some indie authors who want to come on. So we might start doing like another reading club and pick indie books, and then I'll have the indie authors come on for the live show discussion. So y'all let me know if you're interested in that, and if you have any particular indies who you would love to be involved, let me know, because there might be a chance that I already know them or I know someone who knows them. So you never know what's gonna happen. I found out I know Ruby Dixon's personal assistant. Well, someone I know knows the personal assistant to Ruby Dixon. So it's so wild when people say like 6 degrees of separation. It can really be true. So if you have someone that you want to be on this channel and you want to read their books with everybody and they're indie, let me know, because I've got some connections. I do with some traditional people too. So y'all just drop in the comments. It's wild. You never know what's gonna happen. Because I go to writing events and I meet the authors, and sometimes they give me like their emails and stuff like that so that I can set stuff like that up. So like Emmy Leyburn was one of those that was like, yeah! And that was for the Monument 14 series that I just read. So you honestly never know. If you've got a wish for an author you kind of want to like hang out with on a stream, just drop it in the comments and I'll see what I can do. But anyway, that was 5 stars. And of course it's a fantasy novel. And then the next one I read was Murdered at 17. This has a Lifetime movie that goes along with it. I would say read the book first because the Lifetime movie definitely goes along with the plot line. But I want you to feel the same emotions that the character felt in the time. If you know things, then the first like 100 pages is going to be ruined and you're not going to understand her feelings. So you really need to read the book before you go and watch the movie. Don't even watch the movie trailer because that will spoil the first 100 pages. But what I will say is that she has a condition called explosive something disorder. And like if you've ever heard of a TBI, it's kind of like, it's like that. So she had a traumatic brain injury because she was dropped in a cheerleading stunt and she like landed on her head. And so it can cause her to have a lot of issues with emotional regulation, and she can have outbursts of like extreme anger. And so this has isolated her from a lot of her friends, but she still has a couple that are really good friends to her. And I liked that no one was really like a mean girl. So I liked getting to have that. But Oh my goodness. This book. So she winds up exploding at one of the friends because the friend has been in this on and off again relationship with this dude. And the dude is always cheating on her, and yet she continues to get back with him. And so when this dude decides to hit up our main character in here, and she's doing karaoke, the friend checks the phone for her and sees that her ex is dialing up her BFF and assumes that they're sleeping with each other. So she gets angry and says some foul things. And then, so the whole time, this character is trying to prove to the friend that she's not going behind her back. She doesn't want anything to do with that guy. And when she explodes, this happens in front of, like, a bar of people. And so this other guy is like, let me buy you a drink. You've had a hard night. So they have a drink and everything. And he's only like 19. So he's not old enough to drink. And I think she's 18. Anyway, she's trying to make amends with her friend and trying to get her to trust her. So they wind up going to this party together. Now, this is where you get the premise of the book at. They go to this party together, and the next day, she wakes up, and alcohol messes with her meds, by the way. She wakes up the next day, and her hand is bloody, and she's lying in bed with her best friend who has been stabbed to death, finds photos of this on her phone, like taking pictures of the dead body. And so then she assumes, oh my gosh, did I kill my best friend? Like, this is disgusting. But she has these moments of rage, so she has a lot of doubt. So the book is about her trying to figure out what the heck happened. She doesn't want to go to prison for the murder, so like she's cooperating with police, but she can't tell them all the information because that would put her in danger. And she's also has this romance going on in the background, and she's starting to get some red flags where she's suspicious about just how obsessed with her he seems to be. So she doesn't know what's happening. So that's all I can really tell you. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. The when you find out exactly what happened and why, the motivations and all that kind of stuff, you get one version in the book and a different version in the movie. So, like I said, just read the book first. I think you'll enjoy it better that way. And then you can watch the movie, because the movie was good too. Cheesy, but good. So, yeah, that's this. Also, really liked the parents in this book. I like how supportive they are. So, and that includes the mom's fiance that's like over there all the time. So I really liked getting to see parents be involved in a YA novel, because that never happens. So next, oh, that one I also gave 5 stars. Next up, I have The Last Legacy. So this is like, I think of it as technically the chronological order is you have Saint, and then you have Fable, and then you have, I forgot what the next one in the series was called. But then you have this book, which is The Last Legacy. So it's all in the same story world. I got that confused a long time. I'm just like, it's in the story world, it's all together in one series. So this would be book 4. But it's a different character. But it does include some references to people that you see in the Fable series. And Saint is a prequel to the Fable series. It follows the main character in Fable's father. So it's just like a whole big world. They even have a listing for it that has the 4 books in order for that. So it's like the world of something is how they categorize it on Amazon. Anyway, I really enjoyed it when I was listening to it, because I listened on audio for that one. But I will say it's not extremely memorable. It was a standalone. I did like the romance, but at the same time, it just wasn't giving me enough feels toward it to really care. So if I had given this like an impulse rating, it probably would have been like a 3 or a 3.5, but I'm using a copile, whatever you call it, but I've changed the category, so they're not the same ones that Gigi uses. But I'm using that, so it wound up getting a 4. Next up, we have The Giant, which is also the 4th book in a series, and this follows Gonzalo. And so he was in love with this girl when they are trapped in the school. This is the book 4, so I'm just gonna like tell you what happens in book 4. There's some of the characters carry over for the previous part of the series, but it's almost as if this book 4 is like a companion novel. But anyway, but I highly suggest, again, reading the other books in the series first. But, so, I know I'm like all scattered in this video, but I really like, my bird feeder is like moving really fast because of the wind. Anyway, I really liked Gonzalo. He is just so in love with the girl. I think her name is Sophie. And so he is a outcast. No one really likes him. He doesn't have a group of people. So when the virus starts to spread, where teenagers, when they become in contact with an adult who has gone through puberty, like finished their puberty, the adult winds up like basically choking up their lungs and dies. So that's what happens in the beginning of the first book in the series. And then the government decides to quarantine the kids inside of the school. And they do drops of food in the courtyard. And then all of the kids basically form their own little gangs, which is similar to high school cliques. But there are people that don't have a clique. And then they wind up creating a clique. So in the 4th book, you get to see where Gonzalo is deciding, does he want to spend the rest of his time isolated and alone and protecting himself? Or does he want to join a group of the other people that were loners, and they call themselves the loners? So I really enjoy it. It has a back and forth timeline, so you get to see his time in the school and falling for Sophie, and you also get to see when he has already become an adult, so he was let out of the school, because then he would have died. And a lot of the seniors did die, and they were like locked up in the senior lounge, and he walks past their bodies so that he can be like protected in another area, because he didn't have anyone to protect him, and the jocks are mad at him, and the jocks are bullies, and they're violent. So Sophie is oh wait, what I was going to tell you was, so he's an adult, and the kids eventually, this is like book 4 again, so kind of a spoil. I mean, it is a spoil, but whatever. I don't think you're really going to care too much. Like, it's a good book. So what they call them, the scraps. That's what everyone calls the kids that were quarantined off. And so some of the scraps have escaped the school, and Sophie is one of them. So Gonzalo wants to go find her. So he's having to wear a gas mask so that he doesn't kill if he comes in contact. So he's been looking for her for like 6 months by the time the thing starts. And then another character pops up, and it's like his worst enemy, and they are teaming up to find this person. So this book was so good. There was also a clique that I don't really remember seeing in the main series that was called the Mice. And these are people who would crawl through the air ducts, and they had cordoned off certain rooms throughout the school where they could gather. And so they had their gathering spot, but then they all had like their individual places to sneak away to. And they were very good at theft. So they would steal from the other cliques. So they were like invisible little mice that would come out at night and take your things. It was really cute. But then Gonzalo got too big. So Gonzalo becomes a giant, basically, which is why the book is called The Giant, because he gets this growth spurt, and then he's like 6 foot something, and he's super broad, and he can no longer fit through the vents. So he actually winds up losing Sophie while they're in the school as well. And I won't tell you if they find each other while they're in there or not. I don't want to ruin anything. It was such a good book. So I gave it 4.5 stars. The reason was because the romance, it was good. I really enjoyed reading about it. But again, it didn't give me like any physical reactions. I didn't have any stomach flips. Or not enough for me to constitute giving it a 5. Then we have the next book, which is a 5-star and is a romance, but not a sci-fi one. And that one is going to be Well Traveled by Jen DeLuca, which is the 4th book. This was like the month of 4th books in a series. I'm telling y'all. So I listened to this one on audiobook, even though I have the physical one. The Giant, I read the ebook. So I borrowed it from the library with the ebook service thing. So anyway, Well Traveled I listened to on audiobook, gave it 5 stars. This one is about Declan, I believe his name. I think his name might be Declan, but everyone calls him Dex. And so he is a member of the Dueling Kilts, which is a family band, and they play like sea shanties and stuff like that at the Renaissance Fair. Lulu is the female protagonist, and she is a lawyer, and she was really trying to become partner. She did more than any of her male co-workers, but it didn't matter. So she was always stressed, and then she had a small time off or something like that, and she was trying to give herself a break by going to the Renaissance Fair for a weekend just to chill. Nobody else has been working as hard as she has, but she's been passed up for partner on multiple occasions. Well, they call her to get her to basically sit around and wait for an email to come in from someone else, and then her to continue her task. And she's like, I will get to it on Monday. And they're like, well, we really need you to do it now. And she's like, no. She just, with the tone and the fact that she had been doing her boss's job a lot of the time, and he would also micromanage, so she would have to come up with creative ways to get him to do stuff himself. So that was really good. Or maybe that was an article I was reading. That was that part with the getting the boss to do stuff themselves. Yeah, I think that was a YouTube video I watched. But anyway, she was fed up with her boss, basically. And so she winds up throwing her phone into the wash bucket during the wash show that some of the ladies put on. That's like really funny. And it's also in a show that I started watching called American Princess. That's about people that work at a Renaissance Fair and a runaway bride that winds up there. So I really like that show. But anyway, so it had that as well. I would not be surprised if the author hadn't also watched that show, because I could definitely see some similarities. But I haven't been to a Renaissance Fair, so it could just be that all of them kind of contain a bunch of those elements. But anyway, so then Lulu is like, I'm done. She quits her job, and then Mitch, which is her cousin, which was the male protagonist in book 3, Well Matched, was telling her, you will love the Renaissance Fair. Like, just stay there. Take this time away. Like, detox from all the stuff that's been going on in your life. But she's always used to having a plan, so this is very hard for her to do. So she's going to need to have some sort of money if she's going to be traveling around with these people. And so she decides that she's going to help out with the Dueling Kilts, which is also where you get the girl protagonist from book 2, Well Played. She is the girlfriend of the manager of the band, which is the cousin of Declan. And this is also Declan's redemption arc, because he's definitely been a player at the fair. He finds a different girl at every fairground, and like every year he just kind of cycles through them, but he never has any relationships. But at this time, Lulu is like finding him really sexy and irresistible and wondering if she should just go for it. And that would work for her because she doesn't want any strings attached. So I really like this book. I also liked getting to see her kind of work with some of her skills from the business world, with not only helping out with the dueling kilts, but also getting to meet some of the tarot card readers. I really enjoyed her character overall, and I really liked getting to see Declan's redemption arc, and it was just cute. I love Jen DeLuca stories. If you want something that you can relax to, but that does have some depth, but just not something that's like going to completely destroy you, and you want a good romance that feels hard won, you need to try Jen DeLuca, okay? That's all I gotta say. You need to try Jen DeLuca. All right. The video is super long, which makes me critical, but I don't care. We're going with it. We're going with it. All right. Next, I have... So that one was 5 stars. Next, I have a 3-star read, which is going to be Future Home of the Living God. I talk about this in my Buzzwordathon wrap-up, so you can go watch that video to find out what this book is about and like the reasons why I gave it what I gave it. What I will say, just to briefly summarize this sucker, it is about a woman who becomes pregnant in a time when evolution is kind of working backwards and humans are starting to digress with like their intelligence. They're also becoming more deformed. Like there's just a bunch of stuff going on. It is very dystopian because some women are still able to have regular human babies. So the government is basically trying to control everything that's going on. And this also has a Native American representation in it. So yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you about this, because you can go watch the other video where I go in depth. All right. Next up, I have Life and Death by Stephenie Meyer. This is another one that I talk about in the Buzzwordathon wrap-up. So all I'm going to say about this one is that I gave it 3.5 stars, and this is a retelling of Twilight, where she gender flipped all the characters except for Bella's parents, Charlie and Renee, as well as Renee's new husband. So that's what this book is about. It didn't give me the same ooey gooeys I got when I originally read Twilight, which is why it didn't get higher than a 3-star. But there's a lot more to it, so go check out that video. Next up, I have a 5-star read, and that is going to be Reboot. So, teenagers start coming back from the dead. So, this character was in the morgue, and she came back while she was in the morgue. Normally, they come back fairly quickly, so they're all assigned a number based on how long they were dead before they came back, or before they rebooted, as they call it. So this is kind of like a zombie thing, except for there's no eating brains. However, what winds up happening in this book is her friend starts to get a little freaky. Like, she becomes like genuinely psychotic during this book, and you're like, what is happening? And there's some rumors that the lower numbers, they are giving them some stuff to try to turn them into the more functional reboots, who are more functional in the terms of more militant. So they actually are less human. They don't show their emotions the same way. They heal faster. So you heal quicker the longer you were dead. So the numbers mean a lot in this, and you also get more privileges and you're in more leadership roles if you have a higher number. She has the highest number at the facility, and she's been there since she was 12. So she is one of the trainers. Lo and behold, of course, as the highest number, she gets to choose who her recruit is going to be out of the new ones that they've brought on from the place. Well, there is a guy who is a number 22, which is the lowest she's seen at the facility in years. Normally, they consider like the 60s range and below to be like the lower end. And so she's like, oh gosh, he's going to be untrainable. He's too human. He has too many emotions. They still feel pain. So when they have like their arm broken, they're still going to feel all of that. They're just not going to die. And so anyway, she's like, yeah, good luck with that. He's going to die in like a week. And one of the trainers, that's the lowest number trainer, that also always gets stuck with the lowest number recruits, because they pick in order of the rank of the trainers. She's always getting her people killed. Like, they usually don't last more than a month. So this guy is super clever, and he's like, did you ever think that it's not that they're the worst trainer, or that I'm sorry. Did you ever think that it's not the number that matters and results in the deaths, and is rather a result of the efficiency of the trainer themselves? And like, you have the highest number and you have the highest success rate of your reboots not getting killed right away. So he's like, prove to everyone that it's not just because of your number, and pick me. Like, he literally asked her to pick him, even though she's like super scary. People are scared of her. And so she's like, am I really gonna pick this dude? Because he annoys her. He annoys her so much because he is very human. He still has his like high energy moments. And it is so stinking cute. This has like a slow burn romance in here. And there is survival elements, because even though they're technically dead, they can still die. There's a group of rebels that's mentioned, and when they start finding out that more of these people are getting these shots, and sometimes it makes them literally go mad, he would be one of them that would wind up eventually getting one of those. And there's like an event that really sets things off. Again, this is the very beginning of the book. I'm not spoiling the book. So yeah, really, really enjoyed this. 5 stars. Now I'm going to get into book 2 with that series, because I read it right after, because it was so stinking good. I just couldn't even put time between the books. And that is going to be Rebel. So this is the second book and the final book. This is a duology. And it was really nice duology. So well done. And so this one does require me to tell you some spoilers. Okay. So I will have timestamps. If you don't want to know anything about this book, skip ahead. However, if you've already read Reboot, or you don't mind some spoilers, I'm just going to kind of give you what the overall plot is. Then you can stick around for this, but I'm going to start telling you now. So Rebel is when they and it is a spoiler. So Rebel is when they have escaped from the facility, and they wind up finding the rebels, and the rebels are wanting to break into all the facilities to get the other reboots out, and they are wanting to basically get their rights back, to not be stuck in these facilities and having to go on these murder missions that they make them go on. And she starts to find out that maybe the rebels, as in the rebel camp that only has reboots, maybe they don't have everyone's best interest in mind. And what the heck is she going to do about that? So I don't want to ruin anything for you. That's all I can really tell you without going into any spoilers. I might do an individual series review that's more of a recap discussion, where I literally tell you the events in the book so that it can refresh you, or if you want more information. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this series. 5 stars. Next up, we have Wolf Dancer, which was the second book in a series. And this is about werewolves. So it has a different couple in this one, but you're still continuing storyline from previous book, and you're going to get more out of seeing the cameos if you do read the first book first. But I mean, you kind of could read this one as a standalone, but then it would have a cliffhanger at the end where it's like, okay, everything from this book has been resolved, but then you get a glimpse of what the future is going to be, and you're like, oh, I'm interested in finding out what the future is going to be. So, yeah. But this one follows, I can't remember what his name was. Nick, Rico, I don't remember what his name was. But anyway, and Liv. Liv is the girl. Liv is being physically and emotionally abused by her father, who is a werewolf in a different tribe. She is wanting to get out of town and take care of herself and go to college and get like a dance scholarship. The dad doesn't even know that she dances because he wants to control everything in her life. He wants to leave the tribe as well, and her basically work for a living to support him so he can just sit on his butt. He's a very lazy, entitled individual, and he absolutely hates his daughter because his mate, and werewolves like mate for life, so you have like that one soulmate and that's it. His mate died giving birth to Liv, so that's why he hates her so much. And so Nico, that's what his name is Nico. So Nico is trying to protect her. She is very, very shy, and she has a submissive wolf. So there's like the alpha type wolves, the beta wolves, and then like very submissive. So like she cowers and like curls in on herself, and Nico's trying to show her that she's brave and that she can take a stand. But also be there to like support her, like I will punch his face. That sort of thing. But they also don't want to cause a bigger rift between the tribes, because the previous couple brought the tribes into like a peace agreement, so they don't want to ruin the peace agreement. So it's like there's a lot on the line with this whole thing going on. So yeah, so Nico is really liking her, but she tells him like, I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to get this scholarship in New York to go to this dance place, and I'm going to be gone. You really don't want to fall in love with me. And she just feels very unworthy of love because she's never been given it. And so, yeah, that's what this book is about. I really liked getting to see the character arc and the cameos. And I think that the responses that they made were very adult in ways. So sometimes they weren't making what one would judge the best decision, but they always took the other person's feelings about it into account. So it's like, even though I might not agree with your decision, I'm still going to let you make your own decisions and not trying to be manipulative. So I really, really enjoyed like the healthy dynamics with that I just do not see in YA. At least not when the characters actually read as teenagers, because there's a lot of adults where the characters read way too mature. And I'm like, no, this thinking is far too rational. This is not what they would do. This is not what teenagers would sound like. Like, this sounds like a mid-30s person. This does not sound like 17-year-old. I'm just like, no. Like, I don't care. I know that Six of Crows is supposed to be like 17-year-olds, but I'm not buying it. I picture them between like 25 and 40. That's just I picture those characters. It's probably because I listened to the audiobook and that's probably the ages of the narrators, but especially the guys. I'm like, Matthias is not I mean, I think in the books he technically is like 20 or something like that. I'm like, no. He's like at least like 30. I picture him as a man, not a boy. No. Matthias is a man. Anyway. So yeah, I don't know why I just got into that, but oh yeah, I was telling you, these ones actually read like teenagers, but teenagers who are making decisions in a good manner. So I like them. They still are hasty in ways. Don't get me wrong. They still are impulsive. which is why they're realistic. But I like how they consider other people and respect their decisions, even if those decisions might not be the right ones. So that's what I'm getting at. Next, we have Smoky Mountain Serenity, which I gave 4 stars. This is the 6th book in a novella series. It's Christian fiction, and it's got romance. And so this is about a firefighter who was injured and now has a limp. And he's very insecure about this, and he doesn't like the fact that he can't be like a frontline first responder anymore because of his injury. And he has a lot of pain when he's moving around a lot because of the limp. And so he winds up meeting this woman and her child, and their car won't start. So then he's like, I've got this shop I can recommend you to, and he looks to see what's wrong for her, even though he's embarrassed to kind of like be wobbling over there. He feels like his manhood has been taken away from him, which I don't agree with, but I'm also I've read the other stories from this author, so she uses the characters' insecurities, but they're never an issue for the love interest. So it's showing you, like, okay, this person might have these kind of ableist views toward themselves, but the characters around them don't view them that way. They just feel like they're going to be viewed that way. Anyway, so this woman is a single mom, and he's like, well, I can get you towed to the shop or whatever, but then I can take you wherever you're going to stay. Well, it winds up that the place she's renting is on his parents' property. So he takes her there, and then some stuff starts going wrong inside of the house. So as he wants to start taking more of a responsibility with his family's business. So he's going over there to fix things, and they just keep bonding with each other. And so she doesn't trust love. She doesn't trust men, period. And he doesn't feel like he's lovable because of his injury. So, and the reason why is because someone else has rejected him, because, you know what I mean? There's always that thing where someone else has looked down on it, so then he's taking that in on himself, even though it's not true. And so anyway, it's a really cute romance. I enjoyed it. I liked the kid element. I liked the she did really well with the Dark Night of the Soul moment, with giving a reason why they would distance themselves for a little while. This happens in every romance. It was realistic, and it was something serious, so I liked it. Next, we have Kiss of Life, which is the 2nd book in the Generation Dead series. So I talk about this in the life and death buzzword thing. And because this is the 2nd book in the series, I would rather you just go listen to that instead of listening to it here. But I did give it 5 stars. It was epic. It was epic. Then we have, I know I read a lot of books, y'all. I'm aware. Then we have Lily Bennett's Bucket List, which I gave 5 stars. This is about an adult whose husband is leaving her for this younger, more adventurous woman. And so he just drops the bomb on her. And so she's like, ugh, this freaking sucks. And so she's grocery shopping, and she winds up finding this bucket list in her cart. And this actually takes place in a different country. I can't remember where. I think it might have been the UK or something, but it takes place in a different country. It does not take place in the US. And she's also Polish. So you hear the Polish language, you hear, some references to there's food is an element that's in this. So you do get to see the cultural influence of the Polish people in the story. So I really like getting to see that, because I haven't read one before, other than the only other one that I've read that had a Polish character was Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I'm anyway, stretch. So she decides, I'm going to show him that I can be adventurous. I can be adventurous. And so she decides she's going to do everything on that bucket list. And then her daughter is trying to encourage her to get onto dating sites. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. So what she does instead is makes like a friendship profile, like genuinely looking for a friend to complete these dares, to complete this bucket list with me. And so this guy meets up with her and he's like, yeah, I'll do it with you. I think his name is Nick. And I think he had some sort of injury as well. He had been a sports person with like ping pong, table tennis, whatever. And he had been overseas in another country. I think it was like Vietnam or something. I can't remember. But anyway, he comes back. So they start doing these dares. And then it's like, okay, at this point, I'm starting to have feelings for this guy. So do I just go for it? Even though she's been letting him believe that she's Lily, the girl that wrote the list, and she does not know Lily. Her name is Lydia. But she's been telling him that she's Lily the whole book because she just wanted to be somebody else. And, but yeah, she's also trying to get the husband to notice her. They've made this pact that they're not going to sleep with each other. Like they're not going to be friends with benefits, but they have chemistry. So it's like, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna go for it with this guy and forget about your lousy husband that didn't appreciate you? Or are you still gonna try to win your husband back? So I really enjoyed this book. I read it in ebook over the course of like a month and a half. It took me a while. Same thing with Smoky Mountain. Serenity was ebook, but I let the ebook read to me in that mechanic voice. And Wolf Dancer was also an ebook, but I did read it. I'm pointing that out to tell you I did really good this month because I was reading like 100 physical pages a day. That takes like 3 hours for me to do. And I'm telling you, it was so good for my mental health to like physically sit down and just read a book and let everything else go. And I had also had, I think I had computer issues or something. And so I didn't have YouTube. I wasn't consuming it all the time to where it was like an obsession. So my brain just got like this nice little vacation. And I really need to do that again because I enjoyed it so much. And this like past week, I haven't really read anything. I've read a sock puppet erotica that I'm not done with. I've got like 4 or 5 pages left. It was really good. And it's a short story. So yeah, I haven't been doing much reading. So the list will be shorter. But it's the first week I was listening to a crap ton of audiobooks for a series. I was knocking them suckers out. Like I read like 7 or 8 of them. But I haven't been reading like this past week. Anyway, really like Lily Bennett's bucket list. Next up we have my last physical book, which is Obsidian. I gave it 5 stars. I think I talked about this a little bit in my dice game, the Chaos of Dice, because I selected the second book for the next one. So I think I kind of gave you a review of the first. So I don't want to talk about this too much in this video. But Obsidian, there's an alien next door. And he really doesn't want this girl that moved in to be communicating with his sister because their family has been endangered in the past by someone that was close to them forming a relationship with a human, because if they get exposed, the government will do away with them. They'll kill them, or they'll take the human and kill the human so that the human can't spread what's going on. And when they do their abilities in front of a human or someone that's in close proximity, it leaves a trace on the human, which is like a beacon of light for the enemy race of aliens to come and find them and destroy them. So there's a lot of stakes with this. It is an extremely slow burn, enemies to lovers, but boy, was it hot. Just saying! I was so here for it. But yeah, the ending definitely has you being like, I need to read more. But again, with the teenagers acting like horny teenagers, being impulsive, but at the end of the day, making actual, like, grown-up decisions about how they want things to go. So I really respect it when authors do that. Because, like, I remember being an impulsive teenager, but I was also mature in many ways. That's reflected in some of these books. I'm like, yes, this is what my mentality was as a teenager. Whereas, like, I was kind of like, you know how every group of friends has, like, the mom or something where everybody goes to them with their problems. They don't really have any of their own drama, so they get to enjoy your drama and, like, give you advice and stuff, and then they learn from that advice that they give you and the crappy stuff that's happened to you because of your decisions, so they don't make those choices themselves. I was that friend. I was like, come, vent to me, pour out your problems. I will let you cry on my shoulder. I will hump you. I always humped my friends. Not the way you're thinking. If a friend was sad, first I would listen. I would let them get everything out. And then, you know, if it was like they're still very fixated in the moment and they just need someone to be like the yeah person that's like agreeing with everything that they say and just listening, I do that. And then once they move past that phase and they're just sad, then I hump them. Which is just where they're standing and I'll back up and I'll be like, oons, 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 oons. I just back up like that's what I meant by humping them. But anyway, so I would do that. And then once they move past that and they get a laugh out of it, then we could try to come up with some sort of solution to their problem. But a lot of my friends had a lot of drama because of impulsive bad decision making. So I got to learn from their impulsive decisions and not make them myself. It sucks that they had to learn their lessons the hard way, and some of them never did. Because I see their Facebook posts and stuff, and they're still having the same issues they had when they were a teenager. But, you know, it is what it is. Next up, we have... I'm just going to tell you a couple of these in a row, because these are going to be in a different video. So I have Barbarian Lover, which is the third book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. This one has, Wait, right? No. This one has, a woman who has infertility issues. I did give it a 5 stars. I was very weary about this book going in because I had heard kind of how stuff was resolved, but it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I will say these are very much so. The scale is not about like literary quality. A lot of it has to do with enjoyment and elements of like character and stuff like that. So I'm just going to straight up tell you all these Ice Planet Barbarians got 5 stars, except for the second book. I still stand by everything that I said about book number 2 with Liz. She had a character digression and went from someone who was feisty and strong-willed to, oh, my boyfriend can do no wrong. He shouldn't suffer any consequences for his actions. I'm okay with it. Everybody else should be okay with the fact that he kidnapped me. I'm like, no. Liz, that is not a strong female character. No, you disappointed me because she was a strong female character before that. And she was like, get away, alien. You're trying to give me Stockholm. Like, no, get away. And then I was just like, that's what I don't like about books that have that, is I don't know how to tell the difference between Stockholm Syndrome and like starting to actually feel safe with the person that put you in a situation where you had a very bad power dynamic and then growing to love them despite that. I don't know how to separate that line. So to me, I'm like, you kidnapped them. They told you they didn't want to be kidnapped. And so I'm just like, no. The kidnapping continues throughout the series, by the way. But not quite in the way that it was in book 1. Book 2. Anyway, so yeah. That's what that is. And then I'm skipping around just to give you all the Barbarian ones in a row. Then I read Barbarian Mine. And I read Barbarian Prize and Barbarian Mate. All of those were 5 stars. The titles are kind of hard for me because there's so many different characters. So I would have to like look at my spreadsheet to see exactly what like representation was in each one. I'm pretty sure Barbarian Prize had POC rep. And one of the characters is deaf in the novel, but I don't know which one. I think that might be Barbarian. I don't know which one. So that will be in a later review when I review all of the Ice Planet Barbarian books. So that is coming. I'm already on like book 17. So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I've only got a couple left. But I plan on finishing them this month. Okay, that was my plan. February, I wanted to do this ridiculous review of the 20 books that I read. But anyway, so moving on from Ice Planet Barbarian books, we have Try Me by Cait Marie. So this is an individual book. It's a standalone. It's a romance. It's extremely slow burn, friends to lovers, and a runaway bride. So I liked it. So yeah, this is another Cait Marie book, but it's not under Cait Marie. It's under CM Haines. So this is her open pen name, so everybody knows that it's the same person. But it's spicier. So there's some sexy scenes. And so it was actually part of an anthology called Tease Me. So if you look up Tease Me, well, I'll put the link down below, but it might say Tease Me, because that's the name of the anthology that I'll link you to if you want to learn more about it. It's like 20-something plus spicy novels for 99 cents. Cannot beat it. If the USA Today list was still open, they would have made it, because they've had over 5,000 sales on day 1. So really excited about that for her. I hope they still make Wall Street Journal. That would be really cool, because she's worked her butt off and deserves some awards for it. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, more about Try Me. Do I want to... I might just try to do like a full review or something on that. This thing is like an hour long already. But I'm almost done. I'm almost done with the 21 books. But, yeah, I might see if I can get her to come on video and talk about the book with her and do a video that way where you can learn more about it. So just go get the book and read it, and then we could do like a live show. But I did give you like a quick synopsis. So, okay, what else I will say about this is that, so she's been left at the altar by this one guy, and this guy's brother is her best friend. He's madly in love with her and has been since they were kids. But he hasn't expressed this because he believes that she doesn't feel the same way, and she thinks the same about him. So even though she had had like a teenage crush on him, it didn't go anywhere. And so they've just been like strictly friends for the past 8 years. And she has been with his brother for the past 8 years. And then all of a sudden the brother is like, I can't do this. And he leaves her at the altar in front of everybody. So like she had already said, I do. And then he was like, I can't do this. So he just ditches. He bails. He goes and stays at a friend's house out of town. And then after a while, she realizes like, we're not going to get back together again. But he hasn't told her the reason why he bailed. She's like, what the crap, dude? Like, we've been together for almost a decade. Like, seriously, what the crap? And, so then her friends are like, you need to just start dating, put him out of your mind. The best way to get over a guy is to get under one. that mentality. And so she enlists her best friends to put her on the dating app and select these guys for her. And then after every bad date, she's showing up at his house and he's having to like console her and help her find another date. And he's madly in love with her. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Oh, there's a happy ending. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah. So anyway, next book. Next book. So that one I actually proofread. So it's on my computer, but I don't, and I have the ebook because I bought the anthology, but that's how I read that book. All of the Ice Planet Barbarians were audiobooks. They're only like 5 or 6 hours long, so stick that sucker on double speed and you can go through like 2 a day. That's what I was doing. Puzzles and Barbarians. That's what I was doing. All right. Next we have, and that was 5 stars if I didn't say that. Next we have Crown Princess Academy 2. First book I gave it 5 stars. Incredible fantasy, kind of like the Selection series mixed with the world of Six of Crows with the magical elements, with there being like dark shadows and stuff like that. Shadow magic, that sort of thing. And there's light magic as well. Like literal, like there's dark shadows and then the light, like there's bursts of light that can do stuff. And it's fae. There's fae in this one. So this person has the malice in her. She's a human, but she has malice with her. She has like a pixie and a dragon. Yeah, I think, no, that's a different book that had the pixie and the dragon. She has a pixie and she has this other dude that's like, I don't want to spoil anything from book 1, but anyway, she has like these people on her shoulder, these interior voices, and they are manifest in book 1, so you get to learn more about all of that. But anyway, book 2 was a disappointment. Book 1, for one, was a full-length novel. Book 2 was 111 pages, and it cost $5.99, and this is an indie ebook. Indies, we don't even charge $5.99 for our full-length book unless it's like 100,000 words or more. We don't do that. So to have paid $6 for 100 pages, that just should have been combined with the third book that I have to wait another year to come out. Because see, all of us people that really like the first book, we waited like a year and a half for the second one to come out. And for it to only be 111 pages was kind of a slap in the face. And then we're expected to pay another $6 on the next book that might also only be 100 and something pages. No, if it's 100 pages, I don't think I'm going to continue because it was not satisfying. It was only a 3-star read. If I could get access to the third one for free, I would definitely read it. But this one just barely had anything that was happening. It felt like a one-room book almost. So there's not a lot of scenery, which was one of the things that I really enjoyed in the first book was the exploration of the setting. The romance, the feelings had just kind of died and I didn't care. And this has a love triangle element where one guy is seen as like the good guy and one is seen as like the bad boy. It was interesting. There was some action-y type moments that I liked, but it honestly felt slapped together because the pre-order was up and they just weren't done. So they were like, let me find the closest place I can cut this story off and then I'll have another year to figure it out for the next one. That's what it felt like. It felt lazy. Not only that, but when I was reading reviews, some people didn't even they read it. The author got a ton of 1-star reviews for how short the thing was and how like nothing really happens in it. Y'all don't know. I loved the first book so much. And it's like this one wasn't bad. It was just, it was not ready and it was not developed enough to be published yet. It just was not ready. But what was I gonna say? I gotta pause and think. Okay, so because it took so long for it to come out, and they weren't taking enough time to like show all of the emotions of the characters and all this other kind of stuff, I didn't have the romantic feelings toward either love interest. Even the best friend was in there, but wasn't really in there. I'm like, what happened to the magic of book one? I think she just should have lost her pre-order status and put out a good book. Especially because now Amazon is being more forgiving, so when you push a book and then you still don't meet the deadline, they will not take it away from you, your pre-order status, for a year the first time. So you get like one pass, and then you can't do that again or you're done. So I don't know if that's what had happened. I also know that this author typically writes serial series books. So maybe she was thinking, oh, with book one being a full-length novel, it'll just be a nice surprise for them, but they'll only expect a 100-page thing for the next one. Oh, I remember what I was telling you. It took me a second. I read reviews where those reviewers did not get 111 pages. They got like 60 pages. 60 pages for $6 for a Kindle. A Kindle book. No. No. Are indie books as worthy of having money put toward them as publisher books? Yes, 100%. I'm an indie publisher. I know the worth of the writing. But I don't think that traditionally published ebooks should be getting $10 for those books either. I think all of them should be like $5 or below. It's kind of my feel. $4.99 I think is a reasonable price point for a book that has been edited. An edited book. Even if that's self-edited where it'll pass for like a professionally edited book, that's fine. Because there are some people that can self-edit and you would not know. I've read those people and I've talked to them and I've asked them. They don't plot. They edit their own books. They have beta readers and then they slap it on Amazon, but it's perfection. So it's possible to do it all yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have a quality product, $4.99 for a digital, not a big deal. Because it does add up. If you were getting all of your books for $5 and you read 12 books a month, which I think most of us on BookTube probably do, if you average it out, because you've got people that are reading 30 books and then you've got people reading like 6 books. If I was only reading physical, I would not be having 21 books a month. I would be having 4 to 6. I'm a slow reader. And there was nothing wrong with that. Anyway, so yeah, them getting like half of the book that I did and still being disappointed with it not feeling developed enough. No. So that's my rant for that one. I don't know if I'm going to be continuing with that series. And most of the authors, a lot of the authors' other works are also episodic series. I don't want to get into that and it be short and me overpaying, in my opinion, and not getting what I put my money for. So anyway, and sounds like a harsh critic, but like I'm an author too. So I'm like, I know what it takes to write. I'm just like, and I know what the expenses are for everything. And it is expensive. Like, get your coin. But this person has a very big fan base. They don't have to make it super high. I don't know. Anyway. But I did genuinely 5 stars for the first book. So I still say read the first book. But second book, I'm just like, if you can get it for free. But you can't because it's indie. So if they don't do a sale for free, you're never going to get it for free. But anyway. And then last but certainly not least is a 5-star. And it is Blackbirds in the Sky. So, actually there's 2 more that I'm going to talk about. This is the last one that I finished. So, Blackbirds in the Sky. I saw this on a TBR from Books to Ashes. So Ash was talking about wanting to read this one because February is Black History Month. So it's a nonfiction story. And I was like, okay, I haven't read a ton of those. and I didn't know anything about the Tulsa Massacre. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read this book. So well done. It's by Brandy Colbert, who writes fiction books as well. I have one of her other books called The Only Black Girl in Town, which is a middle grades book. So I'll wind up reading that one at some point. But yeah, I have really high hopes for it now, since I enjoyed her nonfiction, and I am not a nonfiction girly at all. I rarely touch them with a 10-foot pole. The only time I read nonfiction is when it is people that are talking about like things that have to do with history and like the oppression and all of the other kind of stuff, because I was not taught all of that. Education system is like really failing students, so I have to do that on my own by seeking out those books. So I will read like a memoir or something like that by one of those people that have a different life experience than I do. But I'm not going to be like reading a ton of celebrity ones. I've read Anna Kendrick's, and I think that was like the Scrappy Little Nobody. I think that was the only one that I've read that was a celebrity. And I read Kevin Hart's book in February, so I'll get into that later. I have some stuff to say about celebrities with books. Self-help books. I just kind of laugh at it a little bit. Anyway. So this one was about the Tulsa Massacre. It gives you detailed accounts not only of the Tulsa Massacre, you also get quotes from survivors that were there on that day throughout the book, and you get to see how race played a role in other hate crimes, how the police system kind of started and how it is abused. Like, you get to see so much more. It references stuff from the Black Lives Matter, like the election time. It touches on a lot of stuff. That's really all I can tell you about it. It's honestly, I read this sucker in January, but if I were to reread it, I would totally still get stuff out of it, because it was just so much information. So it's one, honestly, I would say if you have the money, okay? I don't have the money right now. I do not have the money. I can't give nobody $5 right now. Like, I gotta make sure my bank account doesn't overdraft, because it almost did last time. If I didn't have disability, it would have overdrafted. And it might do it this month, and I just lost my job. So like, I literally do not have any money to be spending on anything other than groceries. But if you have money and you want to add a book to your collection to keep forever on your shelf and revisit and really learn something about it and be able to use it as a teaching tool for like your kids or someone that's going to stay a week at your house and you want to hand them a book, I don't know. This one, that's what I would recommend, would be Blackbirds in the Sky. Very, very accessible, especially if you listen to the audiobook, because it's read by the person who wrote it, so you get the correct tone. It's just like, you just like sit back, you're hearing these horrendous things, but the way that it's told makes it digestible for you to really take in all of the information. And it's short. I love nonfiction books that are like 200 pages or less. I don't need stuff to be drawn out. I just want you to get to the point. And there's like, I think there was a bunch of references and stuff from where she pulled a lot of her research from. This was something that even the author had not been aware of as a child. So she talks about her own upbringing and education system and all of that stuff as well in the book. So just like, Brandy Colbert is going to be someone that I'll look out for. But I do already own the only black girl in town. I'm like looking at the book cover over there to get the thing right. I do own that, so if I read that and I really like her fiction, then I'll look more into that. I'll make sure to do some reviews and stuff on here. But yeah, so that one was very good, just as a book in general. But to be someone who does not really like nonfiction and to like genuinely enjoy it, like no other things considered, yeah, great job. And then as a nonfiction itself, like even better because I don't normally like nonfiction. But yeah, 5 freaking stars for a nonfiction book. That does not... That's hard to do with me. So... Then we had 2 DNFs. So those are the last ones that I'm going to talk about. One of them is The Stolen Heir. I have a video of it. It has the picture of the cover on it. You can search any book or author you want to know if I've read from them before. Guess what? I tag my videos. I put them in the... I tag the author in the video section that's for tags so that you can search on my channel. So there is a search bar for YouTube overall, but there's also a little magnifying glass icon. So if you go to the homepage of anybody's YouTube channel, click on the magnifying glass and type in like the author or the book title and you will find it. So same thing where if I talk about a series and you're like, oh, well, I don't know what book 1 was. I want to know what book 1 is. Then you can just type in the name, and if I've reviewed it on the channel or talked about it in a tag video or something, it'll be there so you can search. I just make it easy like that. I do not, people talk about don't tag authors. I do not tag authors with negative reviews on social media or anything like that. I have not even been really sharing my YouTube videos on social media. Because I didn't want anybody I know in real life to have access to that at all. Because I want this to be like my safe place. I don't want interference from people I interact with face to face. But anyway, yeah, so there's a video about that, so you can look for it. And then the other one is 100 Years of Solitude. I DNF'd it because it was so boring, so nonsensical. I do not like nonsensical, fantasy-esque literary novels. It's not my thing. This one feels literary, but it just feels weird. It just feels weird. There were references of like just casual, like trigger warnings for this, for like, yeah. So casual references to the R word, you know what I'm talking about, that action. Casual references to that, to the wife. And I'm like, yeah, it's still that when it's your wife. If they don't want to go to Pound Town with you, it's still the R word, okay? Because that's not consensual. Just because they decided to marry you doesn't mean they're going to be like, hey, baby, every night. You don't own their body, okay? That's not how it works. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the second time that was referenced, and then she was having like children that had pigtails, like the tail of a pig on a human body. Nonsensical. I don't like nonsensical magic. I don't like that stuff. I love fairy tales. I love magic systems that make sense. They don't have to have a logical basis, but my brain has to be able to comprehend the imagery you're trying to give me, or it don't work. It does not work because I'm a very literal thinker. I'm a literal thinker. So that's why I don't like lyrical language in books, lyrical metaphors. He tasted like the sun, for instance, would be what I'm talking about. I can't comprehend what the crap that's supposed to mean, so to me, it's wasted words. You think it's beautiful, I think it's poop. The only person who can get away with, like, imagery that's kind of weirdly makes sense, even though it's so poetic, you have to like look into it, is Laini Taylor. I have not really read any other authors that can pull that crap off. It just doesn't, it does not work. Please, if you are a new author, don't try doing that crap because it's not good. And if you don't know how to write in general yet, because you haven't put in enough of the time and effort to grow your skills, don't try to use all of these fancy techniques because it ain't gonna work for most of us. That's why a lot of people on BookTube complain about lyrical writing, because it's utter nonsense. And if it's not done to perfection, if you want to write like that, write poetry. Okay, that's what poetry is for, is to not make sense to anybody but you. That's what poetry is for. It makes sense to the writer, and that's about it. Oh man, there's like 2 books that I read that I've read some novels in verse, and I can appreciate a novel in verse. Kelly Sutton wrote one. I still have it somewhere on my shelf. I think it's called The Lonely Ones. It was middle grades. I thought that was really well done. And Ellen Hopkins, really enjoyed her novels in verse. I read Traffic. It's like 400 pages, but boy, do you fly through that sucker. And she's like, it's written in verse, but she also has multiple POVs. And each of the POVs are very distinct in how she uses the poetic form. So it can be done. But I'm like, try to hone your writing skills first before you try to add in poetry, because it's a completely different art form. And few are able to master it where it actually comes out very eloquent and really lends itself to the story and adds something extra to it other than meaningless words. So that's my controversial opinion of the day. You've heard about the books that I read. And we're 1 hour and 20 minutes into this sucker. So we are done. All right. Congratulations to me. I didn't. I think I only restarted this video once. No, I just went with it. Even though it was long. So no, I might have restarted it once. I don't know. I didn't restart it 50 million times. So I'm very proud of myself for just embracing the imperfection. Y'all have been very supportive in your comments about me opening up with all of that. Second guessing and all that other kind of stuff. So, love you guys. And I'll see you in the Discord if you want to hang out with me, or my other social media. That's all I got for you. Did you stick around for 1 hour and 20 minutes? If you did, leave me some hearts. Just leave me some hearts. Do a heart in your favorite color. So whatever your favorite color is, do a heart in your favorite color in the comments, and I'll know you listened till the very end. All right. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see y'all in my next video. I don't know what the next video is going to be. I'm just glad I got done with January's videos. I got done with January's videos. Ice Planet Barbarians is going to be my big upcoming project. And I'm reading a book that my librarian wrote as well. So I might do an individual review for that. And also I got Cool Awkward Black in the mail. And it's got some short stories. So I'm not supposed to cheat. I'm supposed to just read the books that I do for my game. But it's so pretty. It's so pretty. And they're short stories. Oh my gosh, have y'all seen it? Did y'all see my unwrapping? Is this not just like adorable? Oh, and it's got watercolor ombre. I'm just like, oh, this is my cover love right now. Ooh, one of the guys has a mask on. So I wonder if there's going to be a masquerade. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of little mask things in the background. It must be important. But yes, I am so excited for this book. Anyway, I got it from Goodreads too. Can you believe it? A hardback. I'm not really entering any more Goodreads giveaways, at least for the foreseeable future, because I have too many books on my shelves. But, yeah. Alright, I'll see y'all in the next video. I really want to, like, pick it up and read one, even though I got 3 books that I'm supposed to read right now, plus the 2 I checked out from the library that I wasn't supposed to get any books from the library this year, but they're... Okay, bye!